What's happening, gang, and welcome back to another great video on our channel. Making a Murderer has been one of the most popular documentaries on Netflix. The first two seasons had an incredible response from the fans. People aren't sure as to what the future of Stephen Avery and the documentary series holds. But let's take a look as to whether Making a Murderer Season 3 is preoccupying Wisconsin Supreme Court. Number 5. Making a Murderer. Laura Ricciardi and Moira Demos wrote and directed Making a Murderer, an American real crime documentary television series. The show chronicles the story of Stephen Avery, a man from Manitowoc County, Wisconsin, who was wrongfully convicted of sexual assault and attempted murder of Penny Bjornson and spent 18 years in prison. In 2005, he was charged with the murder of Teresa Halbach, and he was found guilty in 2007. The case of Brendan Dassey, who was charged with and convicted of being an accessory to the murder, is linked. The first season focuses on the years of 1985 to 2007, including Avery's arrest and incarceration in 1985, as well as his later exoneration and release in 2003, Avery's legal case against Manitowoc County, his arrest in 2005, and his subsequent trial and conviction in 2007. Also depicts Avery's nephew Brendan Dassey being arrested, prosecuted, and convicted, with a focus on allegations of coercion and counsel ineptitude. The second season focuses on the aftermath of both Avery and Dassey's convictions, focusing on their families, Avery's new attorney Kathleen Zenner's investigations and findings, which support the thesis of Avery's innocence and that he was framed for the murder of Halbach, and Dassey's legal team's efforts in court to argue that his confession was coerced by prosecutors and his constitutional rights were not fully provided. Number 4. Season 1 and 2. On December 18, 2015, Netflix released the first season. It was shot over 10 years, with the filmmakers going back and forth between New York City and Wisconsin. Netflix posted the first episode of the series on YouTube and Netflix simultaneously to promote it, something it has never done before for any of its original programs. The second season of Dassey was announced by Netflix in July of 2016, and it will focus on the aftermath of Dassey's conviction and the several appeals that followed. On October 19, 2018, the 10-episode second season was launched. Making a Murderer was nominated for several prizes in 2016, including 4 Primetime Emmy Awards. The series was compared favorably to the HBO series The Jinx and the podcast Serial as a production. Making a Murderer was widely viewed and sparked great debate both in Manitowoc County, where the events took place, and across the entire country. More than 500,000 people signed a petition to the White House in December of 2015 asking for Avery's pardon. The president cannot pardon a state criminal offense, the White House stated. Number 3. The evidence tampering. Despite the high likelihood of evidence tampering in Teresa Halbach's murder, Wisconsin judges have refused to agree that convicted murderer Stephen Avery and his lawyer Kathleen Zellner need a full evidentiary hearing before a local judge. Even though Zellner cites many instances of prosecutorial misconduct by Special Prosecutor Ken Kratz during her client's first murder trial, Wisconsin judges appear to concur that a formal preliminary hearing on the subject is not necessary. Despite Zellner's claims that she has unearthed solid evidence linking Stephen Avery's nephew Bobby Dassey to the murder, Wisconsin judges have refused to grant her a public hearing in a Wisconsin courtroom. Let's not forget that the burnt remains of Halbach were disposed of in Bobby Dassey's burn barrel, not Stephen Avery's. Zellner also has a witness who claims Bobby Dassey was the one who pushed Halbach's RAV4 after she vanished on Halloween of 2005. We've been granted evidentiary hearings in 99% of our cases in 30 years of performing post-conviction work all around the United States, Zellner recently told me. The remaining 1% have their applications dismissed, only to have them overturned on appeal. Why is Wisconsin so afraid of holding a public hearing about the integrity of this conviction, I wonder? Zellner poses an excellent question. Why are all levels of Wisconsin's state court united in their refusal to provide Avery with a new trial, or at the very least, a chance to return to the Manitowoc County Courthouse, where Zellner can call witnesses and argue why her client's murder conviction should be overturned? The answer to that question could be a lot simpler than making a murderer web sleuths around the world would think. In the view of the Wisconsin Supreme Court, Avery's appeal may be about preventing the release of Making a Murderer 3. When Making a Murderer was released in December of 2015, the entire world witnessed the state of Wisconsin's judiciary in action. The world got another smack in the face in October of 2018 when Making a Murderer 2 was released, with Zellner as the star of the second documentary/series. You can imagine how the second season of Making a Murderer was received in Wisconsin's small-town courthouses and around Madison, the state's capital, where the Supreme Court justices' robes are stored. And it is here that the Wisconsin Supreme Court enters the picture. Do you truly believe Wisconsin Supreme Court intends to declare that Stephen Avery was the victim of not one, but two unjust convictions by the state of Wisconsin, both involving jury trials involving Manitowoc County residents? Number 2, putting the show to a pause. Do you believe the Wisconsin Supreme Court wants to alienate the rest of Wisconsin's politicians and bureaucrats by handing over enough raw material to the producers of Making a Murderer to create a third season that will be more captivating and dramatic than seasons 1 and 2 combined? If Avery is found guilty of a second wrongful conviction, Wisconsin will have the shameful distinction of being the only state in the county with such a blemish. Because so many states of Wisconsin legislators, administrators, and police departments, retired and current, liberals and conservatives, have taken the initiative that this Making a Murderer mania needs to be put to a halt, Avery may never obtain a judicial open hearing, let alone a new trial. By denying Avery access to an evidentiary hearing, the makers of Making a Murderer will be unable to assemble new live courtroom footage for a new Netflix season. That means Zellner won't be able to cross-examine and perhaps rip to shreds the state of Wisconsin's star witnesses responsible for putting Avery to prison for the remainder of his days left. Number 1, will there be a season 3? You have to wonder if the Wisconsin Supreme Court recognizes that there are far too many demons in Avery's vault to keep the door open to the rest of the world. After all, Making a Murderer 3 could lead to Making a Murderer 4, a series in which people like Manitowoc County homicide detectives, the state of Wisconsin crime lab personnel, and possibly even some of Avery's felonious government lawyers could find themselves as accused persons in an inescapable Avery civil lawsuit seeking multi-billion-dollar damages. When it comes to the global implications of Avery's murder case, Wisconsin Supreme Court justices are not fools. People all across the world will cheer if Wisconsin's courts find it in Avery's favor, and Avery will be regarded as the greatest modern-day hero for the malicious prosecution movement. However, while the world continues to demand justice for Avery, Wisconsin's public officials and lawmakers appear to be ready to turn off the cameras in the Avery case and the Netflix series for good. And it's here that the Wisconsin Supreme Court comes into play. Giving Avery a second chance to appear in court with Zellner, the nation's most recognized wrongful conviction lawyer, would provide the Making a Murderer producers with a valuable source of information. A wonderful possibility to kick a field goal in front of millions of devoted and loyal supporters all across the world, making sure Avery and Zellner lose their arguments at all levels now and forever is a simple and easy method to kill the Making a Murderer series in the view of the Wisconsin Supreme Court. There will not be a Making a Murderer 3 in the perspective of Wisconsin's legal system. But do let me know whether you guys think that we will be getting a Making the Murderer 3 sometime in the future, or whether you think it's hopeless. And with that, I'll catch you guys later in another video. Take care now.